Let's look at a quick example of how we reduced fractions to the lowest terms. Let's just say we have, I'll just pick a very simple example, 18 over, let's say, a 36. This is a rational number and it's not in the lowest terms. The way we put the rational number in the lowest terms is by cancelling common factors, which means we have to factor the expression first, break down the numbers. So let's say we break it down as 9 times 2 and 6 times 6. You can do it in so many different ways. I'm just thinking of the first thing that could come to somebody's mind. 9 times 2 is 18. And then you go 3 times 3 times 2, because 9 is 3 times 3. And then break down each number enough to cancel common factors. Let's see what cancels. A 3 with a 3, another 3, a 2, and what we are left with is 1 in the numerator, because 3 over 3 is a 1, 3 over 3 is a 1, 2 over 2 is a 1, and 2 in the denominator. So this is how we reduce the given rational number to the lowest terms. Factor the expression. So that is our first step. Factor the numerator and denominator. And then the next step is cancel common factors. The process here is very similar, except that now we have a polynomial in x and y in the numerator and a polynomial in x and y in the denominator. So what do we do first? Factor. Now look at the numerator. The first term has an x, the second term has a y. So there's no common factor with the x and the y. But when you look at the numbers, you see a 12 and a 9. What is the largest common factor that goes into both 12 and 9? And that is a 3. So we factor the 3 out. 3 fours are 12. What's left in the 12 is a 4, because 4 times 3 is 12. We have an x minus 3 times 3 is 9. And then we have a y. And that's it. This is the best we can do. We cannot break down any further. Look at the next term. We know 3 is a common factor in the denominator. We have an x squared and an x. The lesser of the two would be the common factor, so that is x to the 1. And now we have to carefully write down what's left over. So we have 3x squared is 3x times x, because x times x is x squared. Now we factor out the 3x, we are left with an x. So we have x inside. Once we factor out the 3x plus, if you have a 3xy, we factor out the 3x, we are left with the y. So now in the numerator you have 3 times 4x minus 3y in parentheses. In the denominator you have 3 times x times y. The only common factor is a 3. So we write this down. And sometimes the polynomials in the numerator and denominator may not even have a common factor. But that you'll find out only after factoring both the numerator and the denominator. So this is the polynomial in the lowest terms. So what did we do? Factored the numerator, factored the denominator, and at the end, cancel common factors. So when you factor the numerator and denominator, do a complete factoring. Factor as far as you can, and then cancel the common factors. So what did we do when we had to reduce a fraction or a rational number to the lowest terms? We factor the expression completely, cancel common factors, and we have the rational number or the fraction in the lowest terms. We do something very similar here, But the first step is always factor the numerator and denominator completely. So let's look at this. That's a 1. So it's 1a squared minus 4a minus 12. So this is a quadratic polynomial. And let's see if this can be factored. So we take the 1 and multiply it with the negative 12 and we get a negative 12. And you can factor negative 12 in so many ways. You can go negative 4 times 3, but that's not going to work because negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And same thing with 4 times negative 3. That's not going to work because 4 plus negative 3 equals 1. But what works is negative 6 times positive 2 is 12 with a negative sign. So that's negative 12. Also, negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. That's the one we're interested in. That works for us. And why does it work? Because the product is a times c, which is the coefficients of the extreme terms, and the sum of the two factors is the coefficient of the middle term. So I'm going to do the numerator, a squared minus 4a minus 12 is equal to a squared minus 6a plus 2a minus 12. The denominator is a squared plus 8a plus 12. So when you multiply the 1 and the 12, you get a 12. And the factors should add up to 8. So 12 is 6 times 2. 4 times 3 doesn't work because 4 plus 3 is 7. That's not going to work. We want the sum of the factors to be the coefficient of the middle term. Now 6 plus 2 is the coefficient of the middle term, which is positive 8. So this works for us. And let's do the work here. So this is equal to a squared plus 6a plus 2a plus 12. This is equal to, now we factor the numerator by grouping, and in the first two we're looking at the numerator now. A is a common factor. A squared is a times a, so we write down once a is factored, a is left inside as well, minus, so that's a minus 6. Once you get rid of the a from the 6a, or negative 6a, you're left with negative 6. Plus, in the next two terms, 2 is a common factor. A is left over from 2a, once you factor the 2 out, minus 2 times 6 is 12. In the denominator, group the terms a times a plus 6. When you factor the a out, factor the plus 2, and you have a plus 6. So we are simultaneously factoring two quadratic expressions. Now in the numerator, now let's look at the numerator again. A common factor is a minus 6. And once you factor that out, you'll be left with a plus 2. So factor the yellow a minus 6 factor out. In parentheses, we write down a, which is in blue, the leftover, and plus 2. So the numerator is factored completely. Do the same with the denominator. A plus 6 is a common factor. And once we factor that out, we'll be left with a plus 2. So factor the a plus 6 out. And then what's in yellow is left over. When you factor the a plus 6 out, you have a plus 2. Now we factored the numerator and denominator completely. Now all we have to do is cancel common factors. So there's one common factor that cancels, and you're finally left with a minus 6 over a plus 6. So what did we do? We got a polynomial expression in a polynomial in the numerator over a polynomial in the denominator, that is. And once you have a polynomial in the numerator and a polynomial in the denominator, it becomes a rational expression. We need to write the rational expression in the lowest terms, which means we have to cancel all common factors, which means we have to factor first. So we factored the expression first and then cancel common factors to get a minus 6 over a plus 6. So what looked so complicated? A squared minus 4a minus 12 over a squared plus 8a plus 12 simplifies to the lowest terms, which is a minus 6 over a plus 6.